Look, I said it the last time I made a Pels video, which was at this point, what, a week ago? Yeah, it wasn't that long ago because I've been making Pels videos consistently because, well, they've had a busy offseason. Zion Williamson is always someone that I don't mind talking about because he's a freak. They've got a really talented team. As you can see by the title, I think they're one of the sleepers in the Western Conference. They're my sleeper. I make a sleeper pick kind of every year. I cheated last year because it was halfway through the season and, well, I picked the Atlanta Hawks, who turned out to be pretty good. Yeah, I guess I'm pumping my own tires there, but still, that turned out to be pretty good. And as I was saying, with the Pelicans content, I've been making it consistently. I said to you guys, if you guys want to see more of it, just drop a like, subscribe to the channel, just let me know that there are Pels fans that want to watch the videos, because I've already been making consistent Pels content before the last few videos. I did it all of last year, and it was a decent amount of people watching, but not a ton. Now I've got some more hardcore New Orleans Pelicans fans in the comments. That's what I'm seeing at least. So if you want to continue to see more Pelicans videos, I mean, you know what you need to do. Just subscribe. Let me know, because that's all I want to hear. I just want to let me know. Let me know if you want to continue seeing it, because I'm more than happy to do it. Just straight off the top, when you're looking for a team that could improve or a player that could improve, just looking for improvement, you got to look at a few factors. I mean, the form towards the end of the season, which the Pels didn't really have because Zion missed, Brandon Ingram missed games, but you got to look at health. Did they miss players with injury? Did they have bad coaching? Stan Van Gundy? Yeah, I'd say so. Did they have a successful offseason? Did they build around the right players that they needed to? Did they bring in the right players? And do they have the potential just internally? I mean, looking at guys that could improve. Those are the kind of things I'm looking for when I'm looking at a team that could build. And a lot of teams did this at the moment. The league is incredibly stacked, incredibly even. So I'm not going to lie and just say, oh, the Pelicans were the only team that built and the only team that did well in the offseason and the only team that could get better from their star players taking another leap. No, that would just be me lying. But at the same time, when I look at the offseason, which I'm not going to go into too much depth about because, for starters, I mean, I did it in another video. I've done it a couple of times now, but straight off the bat, you got Jonas Valanciunas, who defensively, maybe he does struggle a little bit compared to Steven Adams, but Steven Adams, let's not pretend he was absolutely amazing for this team defensively. He's a big, strong body, but I mean, he wasn't moving on the perimeter great. I know Valanciunas won't be doing the same either, but he wasn't fantastic. And then offensively, I mean, this was a team that was the 11th ranked offense with no spacing around Zion, or pretty limited. They had no depth. Now you bring in Valanciunas, who can score with the second unit, he can score with the first unit, he's got his own post game, and he can stretch the floor. I expect him to take upwards of 2 threes a game and shoot around 37+%. So I expect him to be good offensively. Defensively, I mean, you're not really losing much. Steven Adams, yes, on paper should be a better defender, and he is a better defender, but in the system, didn't really do a ton. They're already a bad defense. They got better offensively. I like that move. Devontae Graham, along the similar thought process where, I mean, they've just traded everything for offense. They brought in Mike D'Antoni. Willie Green is the head coach now as well. I think he's going to be good. He started the Summer League well, 5-0. You can't complain with that. I can't go off what he did in Summer League. I don't really know about him as a coach just yet, so I'm not really going to talk about him too much, but I mean, it can't be much worse than Stan Van Gundy. No offense, but it just can't be much worse. I don't think the message was getting through to the players with Stan Van Gundy. Willie Green has a good reputation, did well in Phoenix, has done well in the Summer League, so I'm excited with that. Getting back to Devontae Graham, talked about him as well. In terms of offensively, the role the Pelicans want from their guards, they want them to be able to shoot the ball. They want them to play off ball alongside Zion and Ingram, because Zion and Ingram are going to have the ball in their hands for most of the game. Those guys need to be able to play make for those guys when they're off the ball. They need to be able to play make when they're off the court, and they need to be able to shoot the ball at a high clip, a lot of threes. That's what Devontae Graham does well. That's what I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker will improve as well. He looked really good in the games that he started towards the end of the season particularly. So that's the offseason. Also the draft. They had a fantastic draft. Trey Murphy, all-rookie first team in Summer League, and he's already someone that I thought would come in and make an impact. He's 21 years of age. He's someone coming out of Virginia. You've seen guys come out of Virginia and be ready to play. I mean, the guy can shoot the three ball. He's a versatile defender. He's going to add some more depth. As I said last season, a huge thing for this team was the lack of depth. They didn't have enough depth. That's why Zion was playing with the second unit a lot, and you had guys like Kyra Lewis in his first year who's going to improve as well. There's a lot of guys that I'm going through that are going to improve. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Jackson Hayes. Hopefully that situation gets sorted out. But if it does, he'll improve. Kyra Lewis. Najee Marshall was a Summer League standout as well. The Pelicans' whole team was Summer League standouts. They did fantastically. Those guys I just mentioned were all in Summer League, excluding Jackson Hayes. So you've got all of those things going for you. I think they made the right moves in the offseason and in the draft to get improvement from there. They got better offensively. Defensively, when it comes down to it, I say this every time and I believe it, when it comes down to it defensively, it comes down to Zion and Brandon Ingram. They could both realistically be all defensive players. Maybe not this season, but But Ingram has already been a good defender in his career. Zion was a good defender in college. If they both lock in defensively, they could both be all defensive level players. So you've got enough defensive talent there, in my opinion at least. Jackson Hayes also has a lot of potential defensively and showed it off towards the end of the season. So if you want to mix and match lineups, Trey Murphy coming off the bench is versatile. People have said he could play that PJ Tucker kind of role as a small ball 5. I've heard that. So maybe if Trey Murphy can do that, they've got some versatility. Herb Jones, who might not get as much running time this year, but you've got guys that are going to be able to play a role defensively if you need a mix and match, if you go Zion small ball, all of these things. There's some versatility now, which you didn't have these options last year, which is why I'm a fan of what the Pelicans can do. And then also, one thing you have to keep in mind is there was a point in the year where the Pelicans would have had a record of 34-23. That is not a lie. 34-23 if games ended 3 minutes early. And if you watched most of the Pelicans games like me, which I imagine you did, you know that is true. That is true. They blew a lot of leads. Some of it came down to poor coaching. Should have put the ball in Zion's hands more. I know I'm just sounding like I'm biased towards someone who I really like, but I mean, statistically, he was their best clutch performer. He was one of the best clutch performers in the league. They didn't have enough shooting around him. They didn't have the right options. So now you bring in Valanciunas potentially, or as I said, you can go small ball with different kind of lineups. There's versatility. There's a different coach. There's different players. It's going to be different. It's going to be different. So they shouldn't blow as many leads. They made some rookie mistakes. I mean, Sam Van Gundy wasn't the best coach, but he wasn't wrong when he said guys were just making silly mistakes. I mean, there was one where Lonzo left open a 3-point shooter when a 2-point would have actually helped the Pelicans. Like, I didn't explain that very well, but you get the point. He just shouldn't have done it. It was incredibly dumb. It was incredibly dumb. They made those kind of really elementary decisions down the stretch so many times. So that counts, and that's something that they should be able to turn around. Even if they don't become some clutch team, if they're just average in that department, that's a huge swing. That's a huge swing. And then in terms of health, like I mentioned, another factor that plays a part, Josh Hart missed a lot of games. He's someone I didn't mention in the offseason, but he re-signed. Big re-signing. I like Josh Hart. Some people said overpaid. I'd say, he's in that 10 to 12 million range, 10 to 13 million. I mean, really anywhere around that, I don't really care. I don't care if he gets $1 million a year extra. I mean, that's a lot of money, but I mean, relatively speaking, you get the point. You get the point. It's in that range. It's in that range. To say overpaid is kind of wild to me. Fantastic rebounder. I hope his 3-point shooting improves. That's something I want to see with Josh Hart because his 3-point shooting was disappointing last year. You can't deny that. He did everything so well, but at the end of the day, when you're playing alongside Zion, when you're playing alongside Ingram, you need guys that can shoot the 3-ball, and Josh Hart really struggled in that department last year relative to what he had been doing before. So if he can get back to 37 to 38, then that's a fantastic deal because defensively, he hustles. Rebounding, one of the best rebounders in the league, regardless of position. He had a couple of 20 rebound games, maybe just one 20 rebound game. I think I'm exaggerating by saying a couple. But I mean, the man was just a beast on the boards, and he's going to continue doing all of those things. Just shoot the ball a bit better, Josh, and yeah, you're more than worth that kind of money, and you're a fantastic re-signing. Again, depth. He's someone that missed games, though, getting back to the health thing. They had guys that missed games. Lonzo missed games. Zion missed games towards the end of the season. Ingram missed games towards the end of the season, and a couple during the season, if I am right. Steven Adams missed games. They had a lot of guys miss games. They had guys miss through injuries, so they weren't exactly healthy throughout the season. To think that a team's going to be healthy the entire season is a little bit naive in my opinion, but now they've got more players that can pick up those roles. As I said, depth is such a key thing for this Pelicans team. This is something they finally have. They finally have a second unit that you have a little bit of confidence in. A little bit of confidence in the fact that they could go small, they could go big, they could go any of these different lineups, and it could work, as opposed to last year where you were just running out lineups and you're like, I don't trust that. I don't trust that at all. When Ingram or Zion went on the floor, I did not trust that. Now I've got a little bit more faith, a little bit more trust. But again, it all comes down to these two anyway, and that's what comes down to the internal development. Another thing I wanted to touch on, all of these factors that I want to touch on when it comes to a team improving. Internally, you need guys that are going to take the next step. You need guys that are young, taking the next step. Zion, I mean, people forget because he was so good, but he was effectively in his rookie season. Just let that sink in. He was effectively in his rookie season. He played, 25 games the year before, and then he comes into this season, started a little bit slow, started handling the ball more, and was just a freak of nature. He got better every single month. He got more efficient, somehow Somehow he was getting more efficient pretty much every month. He was getting to the free throw line more. I mean, he could have averaged 15 free throws a game. All of us know that. He could have averaged more free throws than he did. He was insane. He started showing off a few mid-range shots. His touch looked better. Everything he did was increasing. He even got better defensively as well. So that's something where defensively he got better. Brandon Ingram as well had another good season. I'd be looking for him to take another leap this season with even more ball handling responsibility, with Lonzo now off the team, with Bledsoe now off the team. Again, another guy that I kind of need to mention was a bit of an anchor. On the team. Bledsoe isn't a terrible player, but just for the Pelicans, something just wasn't right. It just wasn't right. He wasn't the ingredient for the team. Nickeil Alexander-Walker just makes a lot more sense for me. Brandon Ingram, in my opinion, should take another leap. His playmaking got better defensively. Defensively, he needs to improve. This is someone that has all the tools defensively and has shown he can be a good defender this season, and the last just has been underwhelming. He's just been underwhelming. I've heard some people say he's been terrible, he's been really bad. I think that might be a little bit of a stretch, but I mean, he hasn't been good, which you need both of those guys to be good, as I said, because you haven't improved defensively with the likes of Valanciunas and the likes of Devontae Graham. But if you can get some improvement out of those two, that changes a lot. Now, the way I see it, last season, pretty much everything that could have gone bad, maybe not everything, but a lot of things that could have gone bad went bad. I mean, for starters, Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe just weren't it. They just were simply not it. The team just wasn't there as well. You had guys that got injured. Josh Hart got injured. Lonzo got injured. Zion and Ingram missed the last few games of the season, which didn't matter. Season was over at that point. You had Kyra Lewis and Jackson Hayes and Nickeil Alexander-Walker playing a lot of minutes early in the season when they weren't really that productive. Towards the end of the season, they improved, which is why I think they're going to be good next year. But towards last season, they weren't really productive. You didn't have the depth. James Johnson, JJ Redick. I mean, it was a bit of a train wreck, that bench. It was a bit of a train wreck. Stan Van Gundy wasn't the right fit. These were all things that went wrong. Did I say they blew leads? I think I did. I think I've mentioned that a couple of times now, but they blew leads. So all of a sudden, you just need to fix a couple of these things. You just need to see Zion take another step, which, I mean, how does he not? Even though he's only played, 90 games? It just seems pretty realistic that he takes a leap in one department, whether that's playmaking, whether that's scoring, which seems a little bit unfathomable, but I imagine he will continue to get better as a scorer, as a shooter. And then defensively, I see just him getting better all around the floor. And then Brandon Ingram is, again, similar to Zion. Those guys are still young. They're still ascending. So you've got that going for you. You've got all the other young guys, the drafts. Like, they've improved in most departments, and also that a lot of things go wrong last season. They do have the possibility of a trade exception coming in as well. Maybe a Larry Markkinen off the bench, which I would not be opposed to as someone who can bring in some shooting off. Like, come on, you wouldn't be opposed to that if he's just a bench guy for a 1-year deal. I would not be opposed to that if I'm a Pelicans fan or a Pelicans member of the organization. So if they can just turn a couple of those things around next season, in my opinion, they'll be a team that I'd be looking out for. I've got them in the playoffs at the moment. Some things could change, but that's what I'm thinking.